Welcome to Upshift. In the previous episode, we were talking about TCFD, in other words, Task Force on Climate Related Financial Disclosures, and how an organization effectively apply those into their reporting framework. After experiencing that episode, there were so many queries about why don't you talk about IFRS, which is another reporting framework globally available. There are so many regulatory requirements coming towards many organizations in terms of adapting or adhering to IFRS standards. Now we are going to talk about what this IFRS standards is all about, and also for an organization how effectively that you could align yourselves to fulfill the requirement of IFRS framework and start focusing on reporting. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, let's understand what IFRS standards is all about. IFRS stands for International Financial Reporting Standards, which was introduced a couple of years ago, considering certain frameworks including TCFD as well. When it comes to standard, there are basically two standards talked about. First standard we call it as IFRS S1 standard. Second we call it as IFRS S2 standard. Now you may be wondering does the difference between S1 and S2? Let me explain it. S1 is all about general requirement related to sustainability related financial disclosures. S2 is all about climate related financial disclosures. When you heard the term about financial related disclosures, you may be wondering, is there any relationship between TCFD and IFRS? Of course, yes. IFRS S2 and TCFD are interconnected. Having said that, S1 is all about general sustainability requirements or the general disclosures with regards to sustainability related topics. Here we are talking about general sustainability topics in the space of environmental, social and governance issues and opportunities for business. The difference here with respect to some standards like GRI is, here we are focusing mainly about what kind of an impact the business is going to have at enterprise level, especially with regards to financial materiality. You heard it correct. Here we are focusing mainly about financial materiality. With respect to social, environmental and governance issues, how you will determine what material in terms of financial materiality so that enterprise level risk is created or the opportunities that you can capitalize. Having said that, let me explain. If you want to establish your reporting framework or your sustainability framework aligning with IFRS S1 standard, what you need to do is you need to follow again the 4 steps that we were talking about in the TCFD framework. Starting from governance. As an organization, you need to establish a robust governance framework. Corporate governance plays a vital role. We discussed about how to establish a robust corporate governance framework in one of the episodes. When it comes to governance framework, what you need to have is you need to establish a governance structure in the organization supported with the policies and procedures support, so that you will be able to have a proper control in overall management of this environmental, social and governance issues for your business. When it comes to corporate governance structure, you have your board, which is the decision making body of your organization. There must be a risk committee. There could be a couple of members from the board as well, which is appointed by the board of your organization, and they are responsible in terms of understanding and evaluating climate as well as non-climate related or general sustainability related social, environmental and governance issues and opportunities to be identified and evaluate them in terms of the business impact that they are going to have financially. Based on that, they need to understand what are material topics for the business in all these areas and set up a strategy accordingly and ensure the organization risk management is effectively managed. After the risk committee, there must be a SBU structure or the organizational structure to support an execution of the identified strategy as well as working on management of the risks and opportunities that you have already anticipated or evaluated. Second thing is, we are talking about how you will establish a proper strategy to manage the risks and opportunities that you identify in terms of social, environmental and governance issues. There must be strategy, can be short term, medium term or long term. In general, we call if your strategy less than 3 years, it's a short term strategy. If it's between 3 to 7 years, we call it as a medium term strategy. If more than 7 years, we call it as a long term strategy. What is important for business is, based on the identified issues in terms of risks and opportunities for your business in environment, social and governance, you have to come up with a strategy, short term, medium term and long term, based on the severity or the impact that you are going to have because of these issues or the opportunities. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, third step will be about how effectively that you will establish a risk management framework. Risk management framework includes how you will ensure that you will establish proper procedures in place, as well as supported by effective monitoring and measurement framework in the organization, so that you will ensure that risk level that you identified is effectively managed throughout your business. When it comes to the fourth step, it is all about defining clear metrics and targets with regards to all these identified areas. In IFRS S1, you may have identified greenhouse gas emission, the water consumption, energy consumption, the diversity, equity and inclusivity, occupational health and safety, employment, so on and so forth, as issues or the areas that you need to focus on. It is important for you to define clear KPIs or the metrics to drive your business based on the strategy that you formulated along with the risk management framework that you have introduced. It is imperative for you to ensure your KPIs, the risk management framework that you have established are well aligned with the corporate or the business risk management framework as well as the business strategy at the end of the day. Now you have understood 4 steps or the 4 areas which is required to be focused when you are going to establish your reporting framework according to IFRS S1 requirements. However, you may be wondering, what are the material topics or the impacts and issues that you are going to identify and evaluate? To do that, IFRS doesn't have a robust framework in terms of introducing certain issues and opportunities or material topics as prescribed in some standards like GRI. Here you can follow either sector standards based on the SSB standard, or even you can follow GRI standard as the framework for you to understand what kind of environmental, social and governance issues or the material topics that you need to evaluate in terms of financial materiality. Some organizations do report aligning with GRI standards as well as IFRS standards together. In that context, you may be using both impact materiality as well as the financial materiality. In this particular case for IFRS S1 and S2, it is mainly focusing about financial materiality. In other words, because of this material topic, what kind of a financial impact that you are going to experience as an organization. Therefore, what you could do is you could list down all these environmental, social as well as governance material topics and evaluate their financial materiality. You could follow our videos on single materiality versus double materiality that we have done some time back. That explains you how to conduct a single materiality assessment as well as double materiality assessment, which includes financial materiality assessment as well. Having said that, after conducting the materiality assessment, so with the special focus on financial materiality, you could list down what are the material topics for social, environmental and governance issues for your business. For those issues, you need to build 4 types of framework that we are talking about. 4 steps in the framework that we talked about, starting from governance, strategy, risk management and defining metrics and targets. When it comes to IFRS S2, you don't need to be bothered. As we have already covered TCFD framework, what you need to do is you need to understand what TCFD framework can align according to that. The difference in TCFD and IFRS S2 is mainly TCFD is voluntary requirement, whereas IFRS S2 mainly come in as a regulatory requirement. You have to report it as a part of your financial report most of the time. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, you don't need to learn much separately about IFRS S2. What you need to do is you can just go through the 2 videos that we have done in terms of TCFD and establish same framework aligning with 4 steps: governance, risk management, strategy and defining metrics and the goals or targets accordingly. So ladies and gentlemen, now you have a better understanding of how you could establish your reporting framework aligning with IFRS S1 and S2. If I summarize, S1 is all about general sustainability related financial disclosures, whereas S2 is all about climate related financial disclosures. In S1, what you need to do is you need to do financial materiality assessment and follow the 4 steps of the framework, whereas in S2 what you need to do is you need to follow TCFD and follow the same 4 steps of framework as we discussed. Stay tuned.